Chelsea 3, Napoli 2. Take a bow, Joao, Pedro. Whoa! Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, we're talking about Chelsea 3, Napoli 2, waltzing through 6th place into the round of 16 without worrying about the playoffs, came back from being down, which is something we haven't always been able to do this season. There's a weird mix of stuff to talk about in this game, man, because ultimately the result, brilliant. Loads of individual quality, loads of really, really good things to talk about, but some kind of weird things to talk about as well. But guys, before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments. Right, so let's just get straight into it, man. This is what the top 8, and these are the teams that automatically qualify for the round of 16 in this year's Champions League. This is what the top 8 looks like. Arsenal at the top on 24 points. It's annoying to see Arsenal running away with it in 2 competitions this season, isn't it? Not very far off, followed by Bayern Munich, who only had 1 loss in the last 5 games. 5 games. Liverpool at 18, Tottenham at 17, which is kind of strange because they're having a horrendous season. And then Barcelona, Chelsea, Sporting Lisbon and Man City all on 16 points with varying degrees of form. That's wonderful to see, isn't it? Like, this game was so much stress, man, because it was like, you know, at the start of it, we were in like 8th, which was kind of okay. And then someone else scored somewhere and we were in 9th. And then we scored and then we were in like 7th or something. And that, do you know what I mean? Just it kept changing because all of the Champions League games, the final Champions League games were played tonight, which is unusual. But, man, what an absolute thrill. It was so good. Another thing I just thought was worth mentioning here. Antonio Conte toiling away Napoli in 30th place with only 8 points from all of their Champions League opening fixtures. So, look, what there is to say about that is, like, fair play for the performance they gave us tonight. They've been struggling in Europe. They've had patchy form recently, loads of injuries as well. Like, it was ultimately, the narrative was stacked against Napoli tonight. So they gave us a really, really tough game. So let's get into this game, man. Let's get into this game. So we'll start with the lineup, which I imagine raised a few eyebrows across the Chelsea community, right? Because I looked at this lineup and I was like, oh dear. He's a tinkerer. He likes to tinker. He's got an idea. He's got a plan. He thinks he can do something different. Oh dear. So here is the starting lineup. Robert Sanchez in goal. Malo Gusto at right back. Reece James centre half, but really, he played more of a right centre-back role, but that's where it was a bit unusual. Wesley Fofana as a centre-back as well. Marco Correa at left-back. Santos Caicedo in the centre of midfield. Enzo Fernandez centre-attack. Pedro Neto on the left. Esteval on the right. And Joao Pedro up top. So largely really similar to the Crystal Palace game, right? But you've got to ask the question, like, Reece James as a centre-half, do you know what I mean? As a dedicated centre-half, really leaving only one actual centre-back on the pitch in Wesley Fofana, who didn't have an amazing game. And to be honest, looking at that back line, none of the defence had a particularly amazing game. This game was largely won through moments of quality from our attacking players, which is unbelievable to see. But it was a little bit worrying, man. It was a little bit worrying. So I'll now bring up the substitutions. Cole Palmer came on for Pedro Neto at half-time, which was definitely the right thing to do because Pedro Neto had a bit of a stinker. Esteval Willian moved over to the left. Trevor Chalobah came on for Gusto, which made sense. Jamie Gittins came on for Andre Santos a little bit later, but ended up getting subbed off again for Badiashile later in the game because of injury, I think it is what I've seen. So that is really unfortunate. And Alejandro Garnacho came on for Esteval in the 74th minute. So, look, yeah, just back to that starting lineup again, man. It's just so weird, isn't it? So, yeah, like, you know, you can see there were a couple. I mean, Pedro actually got a reasonably good rating as per SofaScore, but bringing him off for Cole Palmer, how did they get the same rating when Cole Palmer got 2 assists? The stats boggled sometimes, don't they? The stats absolutely boggle the mind. But, yeah, man, so the first half, we got a goal through a penalty. We were looking good in the opening 15 minutes as well, man, like 100%. Like the passing was good. It was kind of even, but we kind of looked on top. We got the penalty and it seemed like, so Enzo Fernandez scores the penalty and it seemed like that was the thing that woke Napoli up. And then all of a sudden, there was a golf in quality, man. They were slicing us open for fun. Oh, mate, it was so stressful, man. So their first goal came from awful defending, and I imagine it was a bit weird because, 3 fullbacks in defence. We've had 3 fullbacks in midfield with Enzo Maresca. Now we've got 3 fullbacks in defence. Out of choice, by the way. This is the thing. It's not like the Liverpool game where we did it because we had to. This was literally Liam Rosinia's choice, and they got cut open, man. They've got Napoli have got a really young player called Vergara, who's a young lad from Napoli, which is obviously a massive night for him. He literally got the ball, did like a Maradona spin, and then just put one past us, and it was just like, oh no. And then it was 1-1. And their second goal was just good combinational play from them, and it was a poacher's goal from Rasmus Højlund, who will have been happy because that's the first time he scored in about 7 games, I think. But they just look better than us, man. Do you know what I mean? They absolutely just look better than us. They look dominant, and it was just really concerning because we had a bright opening 15 minutes. But I'm not going to lie to you, the next half an hour of football was quite tough to watch. We looked devoid of ideas. You can see, maybe things picked up in the second half, but even with that, Wesley Fofana, 6.4. He had a bit of a stinker. But again, maybe that was something to do with, being the only centre-back on the pitch. It's difficult to say, obviously, because we won the game. I'm sure this would be getting picked apart a lot more, even if it had been a draw. Do you know what I mean? So the subs changed the game, man. The subs changed the game. Cole Palmer comes on for Pedro Neto, and that, I don't necessarily think that was the ingredient that unlocked everything, but he got 2 assists. Do you know what I mean? He got the 2 assists for the 2 goals from Joao Pedro, who is a man on fire now. Absolutely on fire. Mate, he's on like 10 GA for this. Maybe more than that now, actually. I think it even might be more than that. He's probably on like 11, maybe 12 GA for the season. And all of a sudden, it's like, you don't miss Nicholas Jackson so much. Joao Pedro went for a really stinky period in the early part of the season, but he seems to, I don't know whether it's the change in manager or he's just played himself back into fitness, but we're starting to see a bit more of that Club World Cup Joao Pedro again. He did it in Crystal Palace. He scored 3 goals in 2 games. Do you know what I mean? He literally scored 3 goals in 2 games, 2 of which are in the Champions League. That's absolutely awesome. Joao Pedro got a blue in the SofaScore ratings, and that is absolutely awesome. He was so good today, man. Both of the goals, the first one in particular, was an absolute stunner. He just, similar to the Crystal Palace goal, actually, he found himself kind of on the right, and instead of like looking to cross or whatever, he just drifted in and launched it, and it was just like, wicked. Take a bow, Joao Pedro, absolutely stunning. Great to see. Liam Delap will be sweating watching Joao Pedro's form recently, but ultimately, like, what we've been missing for a while is just someone to rely on when it comes to goal scoring. And I mentioned this maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit more than that now. It was really, really worrying that a lot of our goals were being spread around the team, but very, very few of the goals were coming from the striker spot, right? And Joao Pedro's had a lot of game time this season, largely due to injuries. Liam Delap was obviously out for a long time, and Joao Pedro, I think he missed one of the international breaks with Brazil, didn't he? Because he was just like not fit at all. But it's not even just the goals. Joao Pedro, in general, has just been looking better since Liam Rosinia took over. He is it's difficult to explain, really. He just looks less lethargic, less clueless. Do you know what I mean? He's getting a lot more involved in play. He's dropping deep to great effect, whereas before he would drop deep and kind of nothing would happen. But like little 1-2s, he's releasing the ball very quickly, which is good as well. Do you know what I mean? There's just loads of things that have been really, really good about Joao Pedro, And great for Enzo Fernandez as well. Probably Joao Pedro is our top scorer now, actually, but Enzo Fernandez is up there as well, albeit a penalty, but ultimately he had to, score the penalty. That's 8 penalties for Chelsea this season now, and we haven't missed a single one, so that's good, right? So, penalty from Fernandez, 2 bangers from Joao Pedro, but 2 great goals from Napoli as well, man. It was a really, really, really tough game. I'm going to do some final thoughts at the end, but just the thing I want to quickly mention, man, is like mentality is so important in this kind of win. Do you know what I mean? And our mentality had been in the bin with Enzo Maresca for a little while, because I think he just relied too heavily on tactics. Do you know what I mean? If we didn't win tactically, we really struggled to get back into games. And this is just a good example of, I think, Liam Rosinia putting man management first. Do you know what I mean? But again, the worry was the starting lineup in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Reece James and Marco Correa as the left and right centre back, with Malo Gusto kind of going up the right wing, so Esteval could drift in a bit, and sometimes playing as a little bit of an inverted midfielder and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like I just want to keep winning, man. I just want to keep winning. And you see stuff like this, and it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think James works really well as a right centre back, but generally when there's another 2 centre backs there, do you know what I mean? Like if we had Levi Colwill or even Badiashile on that left side, gives us a bit more balance, doesn't it? It gives us a bit more balance. So, yeah, that's the lineup. That's the general run of the game. It was awesome. But what we're going to do, as I did last time, we're going to take a little look at the statisticals, the stats for the game. and just sort of see how well we did throughout. Because like I say, it felt really even. It was a tough game to watch, but this is what the stats have got to say. So Chelsea on the right, Napoli on the left. Napoli in green, Chelsea in bluish, bluey purple. 54% possession to Napoli's 46. So we dominated the ball, as you would expect, because it's an Antonio Conte team. They're never going to dominate the ball, are they? It's just never what's going to happen. XG, 2.01 to 0.98 from them. So even, they outscored theirs and we outscored ours, but ultimately we were dominating the attacking phases for the most part and we had the better chances. Big chances 4 to their 1. Again, backs that up. We were actually having the better chances throughout the game. Total shots 11 to 8. So similar, but again, just kind of backs up by the other two. Goalkeeper saves 3 to 2. Rob Sanchez bailed us out of this, man. Again, and that's what a good goalkeeper does at the end of the day. I'm not saying that that's like, bad for the team. It's like we need Rob Sanchez to be able to bail us out every now and again. That's what good goalkeepers do. Right at the end of the game, in the last few minutes, Lukaku obviously came on and he nearly scored, but Rob Sanchez made a last-minute save and it was just like, thank you. Thank you, Sanchez. Thank you. The narrative gods, if Lukaku comes on and equalises in this game, keeps Napoli's Champions League hopes alive and puts us in the playoffs, mate, it'd have been too much, man. It'd have been too much. But it didn't happen, so it was okay. Corner kicks, 4 to 1. So I guess that means we weren't really exploiting the wide stuff as much as we normally do. We were definitely trying to get more through the middle. Fouls, 15 apiece. That's unusual, isn't it? 15 apiece for fouls. Passes, 636 to their 529. So they did pass quite a lot, but our passing, their passing was more, to say they had less possession, they were trying to do more with it. We did go through periods, especially in the first half, where we were, Pedro Neto in particular was a real proponent of this. He was getting it. He wasn't managing to, beat his man or find a cross inside or drift in or anything like that, and he was just passing it back and it was getting recycled. And that's stressful to see that after the 18 months of Maresca that we've just seen doing that. But yeah, that's kind of what the passing tells me. Tackles 11 to 16, again kind of what you expect from an Antonio Conte team. Free kicks 14 to 15, and that makes kind of sense with how many fouls there were across the game. And 2 to 1 yellow cards, no reds for anyone. So there are lots of things there to say that it was a reasonably even game. You would expect Chelsea to have more possession. You would expect Napoli not to have so much possession, but we did dominate. Well, I say dominate. We just ousted them in terms of the attacking stats throughout the game, right? So that's ultimately a good thing. We are seeing an upward trajectory in terms of the statistics through the game. So when I looked at the Crystal Palace stats, it was much more even than this was. But obviously, we managed. It was quality that went through for us in that respect. Now, Napoli have got loads of quality. They are a really, really good side. They won the Scudetto last year, do you know what I mean? So we're going up against last year's champions. They're not having an amazing season. This is kind of what happens with Antonio Conte teams, though, isn't it? It's all lovely until he wins something for you, and then after he wins something for you and doesn't get what he wants, all of a sudden things get a bit sour and toxic, and maybe Napoli are starting to go through that right now. It will be really interesting to see what happens, because having won the Scudetto last year, I'm sure the Napoli board and the Chiefs and the fans especially will not be happy that they're getting ousted from the Champions League at this stage, right? So, final thoughts. Is just a massive sigh of relief. It's a massive sigh of relief. But I want to talk a little bit about Liam Rosenior. Liam Rosenior, I think it's fair to say, made an error with his starting lineup, and it was there. It was plain to see we were not defending well in the first half at all. Do you know what I mean? At all, we were not defending well in the first half. Even in the second half, there were still moments, because you obviously saw when I went through the subs, we brought Cole Palmer on at half time, but he was still happy with that defensive setup. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to at the end of the day, that's papered over by the fact that Joao Pedro's attacking quality and Cole Palmer's attacking quality shone through. But there's definitely a concern there, isn't there, with the crazy formation. And maybe, again, this is something that will change if we do get a centre-back in. Maybe Jeremy Jacquet. Maybe he comes in now, although I think that might be for the summer. Maybe Mamadou Sarr comes back and gives him more what he feels he needs in those kind of centre-back areas. But I will not be happy to see lots of that against big teams. Do you know what I mean? Because it was heart attack football, man. It was definitely heart attack football. Cole Palmer, right? Let's talk about Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer has had really rough recently. He hasn't scored since the Everton game. He scored a penalty in the Brentford game, I want to say. So again, Liam Delap won that, so he probably felt it was kind of unearned. But he came on and got 2 assists today. And I think it's interesting that we're seeing him a lot more on the right side now. Do you know what I mean? Because there's almost less pressure on him there. And Esteval Willian got tried in the centre of attack as well, which is something we haven't seen a lot of. We've seen it a couple of times, and we all know he can do it and wants to do it, but he's mostly sort of featured out on the right. But Cole Palmer and Esteval, like that first goal for Joao Pedro, came from a really nice piece of combinational play from Cole Palmer, and Esteval ended up finding its way to the feet of Joao Pedro, who did most of the work for the goal. And obviously there was a nice little combination for the second goal as well, with Cole Palmer just getting it through to Joao Pedro to score the second goal. So, you know, we're starting to see something come back from Cole Palmer now. I do think confidence is going to be an absolutely huge thing for him, and I think playing him on the right is actually a really good way to get him that. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so much pressure to be the guy that makes everything happen, and Enzo Fernandez is doing a reasonably good job in the centre of attack at the moment, and it looks like he's kind of willing to take that role and that responsibility. So and Joao Pedro's got to stay up top now, hasn't he? That's the thing, because he's scored, like 4 in 5 in the Premier League and 2 in 3 in his last 2 games, and all of a sudden he's just playing his way back into form. So don't get me wrong, I think, you know, there's still a chance for Liam Delap to do well this season, but Joao Pedro looks like he's really, really benefiting from whatever has changed. So yeah, it's just really good, man, to see some of our creative attacking players that we know have got it in them. Like we saw what Joao Pedro could do in the Club World Cup. We all know what Cole Palmer can do. To see these guys respond in a big game, do you know what I mean, and not let the occasion get the better of them and the current result get the better of them as well, because, you know, we could have had the wind knocked out of our sails, and that's been the case a few times, do you know what I mean, where we could have had the wind knocked out of our sails, but we've come back and we've fought and we've won, and it's great. Absolutely brilliant. And also, I mentioned this in the Crystal Palace game, Chelsea have dropped 15 points this season from winning positions, and we were winning in the start of the game, and all of a sudden by the end of the first half it was 2-1 and we looked like we were going to lose, even though we'd started from a winning position. But that shows that mentality was maintained throughout the entirety of the game, even though we had a really bad first half. So credit to Rafinha, 5 wins in 6 games. Credit to Joao Pedro, absolutely banging him away. Credit to Rob Sanchez, who again saved us in the game. And that's kind of it, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up there. That was a really fun game to watch. And I say that retrospectively, because I did sit through a lot of that game being like, oh no, this is hard, we don't look good, we're getting cut open. But ultimately, to see us come back and get that win in the way we did, that's just something I feel like we haven't seen a lot of recently, man. And I am just genuinely really starting to enjoy watching Chelsea again. And that ultimately is what I'm here for. Guys, let me know what you thought of this game. Do you think that we've got a chance of winning the Champions League? I mean, you've got to look at the top 2 at the moment in Bayern Munich and Arsenal. I think it's probably going to go down to them 2 unless a knockout happens between them. I'm not sure if that can happen. But unless they end up in a knockout stage together before the end, they seem to be the 2 to beat at the moment. I think it was Liverpool, wasn't it? Liverpool were 3rd with 18 points. So there's quite a big drop-off between the top 2, and then you go down to Liverpool, and there's only 2 points between Liverpool in 3rd and Man City in 8th, and we're on the same points as them. So it really feels like anything could happen. I'm going to be back tomorrow with more transfer news. I'm not going to talk too much about it now. I'll leave it for tomorrow. But Raheem Sterling has terminated the contract at Chelsea. Kendry Paez has been loaned to River Plate. Things are starting to happen. I think this is going to be a really, really crazy week, and I can't wait to bring it to you guys. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I will catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.